Jays fans are absolutely livid at this. They are completely done. Is following yet another atrocious loss. The blame is not only on the players, the blame stems from the top. We're going to break down some new reports, some new interesting stats, a ton of different things, revealing some very interesting details surrounding the Jays' current team, but also some rumors that are flying surrounding the future of some Jays. We're going to break that down and discuss what this means going forward as this has gotten out of hand. But before we get into it, if you're a part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, and thank you guys for your continued support over here. Ladies and gentlemen, back to a doubleheader yesterday, back-to-back games, and it was an absolutely disastrous, completely, just a horrible worst-case scenario performance. They come out, and every single negative of this team shined through. The lack of power, all these different things, and I want to dive into it today because fans at this point have had enough, not only with the team, but the way that it has started from the top to bottom. And I want to start with this here. And this is a little bit, wild. Worst different run differentials in the American League. The Orioles are minus 39 now. At least we're not Orioles fans. The Orioles are 10-17 at the time of recording. They are disastrous. But the Jays have a minus 27 run differential. Now, there was some time where, the Jays, and I'm not saying by any means the season is over, but there was some time where the Jays were, they're in an okay spot. They were in decent spot. They were 12-8, very good. And again, this is still by far the hardest month of the regular season. If you get out of 500, you're looking in pretty good shape. But that's looking more and more bleak by the day. And I wanted to start off with this. And again, Jonathan Clase ended up getting called up yesterday. He played a game. He looked pretty good. He looked okay. I wouldn't mind keeping him up. But the Jays are a minus 27. And fans and everybody alike has started to really take notice of just how, bad this team is, but also and how much trouble this team is in. Maybe you need good hitters to be a good hitting team. Did we ever think of that? And if you were on Twitter yesterday, whatever ends up being, some of the John Schneider's decisions, Ross Atkins from the top, building this team, the offense just doesn't seem to be good enough. And I'm not ready to go into a full-blown overreaction, but watching what we've seen over the past few games, specifically yesterday, was not only ridiculous, not only, out of hand, it was just an abolished performance, especially on the offensive front. It was as close to a rough 6-game road trip as you could have if you're the Jays. Ladies and gentlemen, in 6 games, they scored 9 runs on 32 hits. And the hits, albeit still pretty low, but they gave up 33 runs on exactly double their own hits. They are not hitting home runs. They are not really doing anything. And the pitching, whether or not, it's not going to be able to be sustained as a, 1 ERA the whole year. And there's been some runs where the pitching staff was good. You don't have it right now. The pitching is fine. The offense is completely horrible. The back of the bullpen is elite. The Jays fixed some of their problems. But when you look at guys like, they brought in Anthony Santander for power. They didn't do much beyond that for hitting. You have to hope for Vladdy and Bichette. You're hoping for them to come back to where their averages were throughout their, career. And again, we're super short into the season. There's a ton of season left, but man, oh man, has it been disastrous. And it is, there is cause for concern now. You can see this here. How is this a collection of hitters with the amount of money being spent in payroll? How maybe you need good hitters again. It's a very interesting spot to be in because the Toronto Blue Jays, Vladdy is extended. He's going to be fine. I think he's gotten a lot of, bad BABIP, some unluckiness to start the season. But at the same time, you can only say that for so long. He's going to need to have a great season this year like he did last year. He's also historically slow in April, similar to Anthony Santander. Santander has been disastrous to start his Blue Jays career, albeit he hit a home run yesterday. Bichette, you need those 3 to start hitting the ball. If they don't hit the ball, these questions are going to be something that is going to linger with them the entire year into the trade deadline. Maybe Bichette will be, he's definitely going to be thrown out in rumors if the Jays continue to struggle. But you kind of could have predicted this a little bit from the start. Now, yes, there was some optimism at the bottom half of the lineup. Alan Roden, Will Wagner, all those guys, they have all come back to earth. 500 OPS for Will Wagner. Alan Roden has not done exactly what we expected, but he's super young. And with Dalton Varsho coming back, you have to hope that, A, the Jays make the right moves, but B, that, you actually are able to fix this team. Now, not only are the Jays, in a very interesting spot, their manager yesterday threw Kevin Gausman out for 53 pitches, which is tied for the most in history by a Blue Jays pitcher, tied with Woody Williams back in 98. John Schneider, again, I'm not a guy who's going to hate on John Schneider all the time for every little move he does, all these different things. It was a very interesting call to leave him out for 53 pitches. Now, yes, he's a veteran. Yes, he has some he has a lot of experience at the major league level, and he's a guy you trust more than almost any pitcher on the Blue Jays staff, and probably more than almost any pitcher in baseball because he's pitched so long and he's been dominant for so long. Throwing him out there for 53 pitches against a New York Yankees team, and let's not forget, it wasn't just 53 pitches where he was competitive in the zone. He walked 4 or 5 hitters in the inning. He was giving up, and again, Craig Conroy, the umpire, he wasn't fantastic. He didn't do a great job. I also don't think he was the reason the Jays lost the game. I think the Jays were actually favored according to the ump scorecard in that game. But regardless of that, I don't know why you didn't take him out earlier. There is some arguments to be made about leaving him in. Yeah, he's going to be able to continue to battle it out, figure it out himself. The Jays ultimately lost 11-1, and also, of course, it was the first night of a first game of a doubleheader. Sorry, so there is some things to be said there. But man, oh man, John Schneider, I don't think he's a bad manager. Do I think he's the manager to lead this team to victory? I don't know now. This is the third year, and the Jays are struggling again. I think it's more so on the front office putting together the team they put together. But you pair, some of the decisions that he's made, some of the bullpen decisions that he's made in the postseason, all these different things. And we're still super early into the season. I'm well aware of that. But there is a serious cause for concern right now. There's no doubt about it, a major cause for concern with this team. And it's at the point where you aren't only in a very interesting spot, and the standings don't matter right now. But what matters is some of the worst offense we've ever seen, an MLB worst -22 home run differential this season, which is directly correlated to the fact that this front office didn't get the Jays enough power. And obviously, I was saying at the time, I think they could probably do it if everybody steps up. Everything would have had to broke right. Keegan Madison came out, and it still can. It's still fairly early. Everything still can, break for the Toronto Blue Jays. But that being said, they, as expected, don't have any power. They have a MLB worst home run differential, and you're at a point now where not only are you in one of the worst spots as it pertains to hitting in baseball, the moment your pitching starts to regress a little bit, you're going to be one of the worst teams, in the MLB. It's just unfortunate. It's the unfortunate reality of the situation, and we saw it yesterday. Now the Jays, of course, are 4 games back of first in the AL East. There's lots of time here. You're 2 games under 500. The Jays have, they were 12-8. 12-8. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row. Luckily, they were able to get a bit of a, not lucky, but a good win against the Yankees in game 1. And I'm not usually super pessimistic here on the channel, but something has to be done about this. Whether you make a trade, whether you call up some other people. There's not many people in the minor leagues either that are, mashing. Or Elvis Martinez, not mashing. The starting pitching staff has been better. If you get one injury, and there were some rumblings about Kevin Gosse being injured. Yes, you have Dalton Varsho coming back. You have Eric Swanson on the brink of a return. Things can go right if you're able to get back to 500 by, you're not going to be able to now. The month ends in 3 days, but finishing this month around 500 is fine. What's not fine is the underlying metric. If they were hitting the home runs and they just ran into some really tough opponents, sure. They should be way higher in the standings than this. The opponents aren't playing well either. The AL East is pretty washed this year with the Yankees being atop, and they look like the best team in the league. So the Jays have a serious problem. They are in serious trouble. Unfortunately for the Jays, if they don't turn things around quickly, they're going to continue to spiral. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on all this. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news. Cheers.